Namaste, Jay Bharat. China's border strategy and China's interest in interfering in others' matter had ever been a pain in the posterior to all their neighbors, in particular neighbors. The other world are not immediately affected, so that may be treated as a different. China has about so-called 14 borders to deal with, both land and sea. So with every borders that China has, they have border issues. If it's not innocent, they have this expansionist attitude which continues. They have this authoritarian government which is of course so-called communist. Not really. It has nothing to do with the principles of Marx, the theories of Marx. Partially, Marx envisages a situation of dictatorship of the proletariats, which he wants to reach communism through socialism. That's immediately after revolution, socialism comes into existence, and through practicing and working within socialism, they can move into communism. Communism is simply had ever remained as a desideratum in all practical aspects and including in theoretical aspects, because the so-called leftists do not really know what communism is. They inadvertently or even otherwise stop short at socialistic principles, and the communism remains a desideratum rather a mirage. So this is a situation theory, but then any communist country in the nation has really nothing serious to do with the principles and theories of Marx. And the principles and theories of Marx does not even function as a substratum, even in the most remote sense of the term, to all these so-called, very few there, communist claiming countries. Perhaps the only dialectician in power, of course, otherwise of course there are quite a few, the only dialectician who had ruled in the entire communist world of thinking and doing, they say like that, thinking and doing, is none other than Lenin. Before Lenin, nobody. After Lenin, nobody. And there shall not be anyone at all. Lenin at least tried his best to approximate the principles of Marx. Wherever he has to make changes for all kinds of practical purposes, he tried his best. To what extent he was successful or not is a different question. So that's the story of communism. And from communism, China creates a lot of attitude, and one such attitude is that expansionist policy. They want to expand. State will wither away, so borders have to wither away. All right, but then, as a result of the Chinese expansionist policy, all their 14 so-called neighbors have problems with China, and China is treating Bharat as their most potential enemy. True, because we cannot coexist with the so-called dictatorial regime of China. But on the other hand, Chinese people, that they are Buddhists, and Bharat, which by and large Hindus in general, have so many things in common, and they can coexist beautifully without any contradictions, provided this communist hardship becomes non-existent. But that's only a hypothetical situation. So, as the case is now, at present, China has its expansionist policies, and they wanted to surround Bharat through various ties with this, starting with Sri Lanka, Maldives, etc., where by and large they failed in the long run, but they still keep trying and continuing wherever it is possible. They do continue, and that kind of a geopolitical situation is, I don't know who termed it, is known as or called as what do you call pearl, garland of pearls, something like that. This garland surrounds Bharat. Now we have a different kind of government in Bharat till 2014, till Narendra Bhai Modi becomes the Prime Minister. We were not, let me put it that way, we were not ruled by real nationalist government. This is the first time we have an authentic nationalist government whose interest is national interest and the people's interest. No, that's not for discussion in any case. So, with this nationalist government, there are so many efforts from the government to counter such attitudes, China's attitude and many other such attitudes. So Bharat is now surrounding China through other kinds of geopolitical international diplomatic relations. The string of pearls, yes, that's the string of pearls strategy of China is countered by the necklace of diamonds. Many nations around China, they notice the names of many nations around China have reasonably good relations with Bharat. That disturbs China. That was only the point which caused so. So China should not feel, China should not do what they feel like, and they should not feel things which they cannot or ought not do. China's dictatorial regime should remember that the people of China have intense relations to the people of Bharat, in spite of this communist so-called, I'm not using the word communist in the genuine sense, communist so-called Iron Curtain. It's only a few people, Communist Party. It's always the case that, bourgeois exploitation of the proletariat is replaced more vigorously than the Communist Party's exploitation of the everyone. That's precisely what's happening in China. Communist Party has dictators, and these dictators are dictators, and these dictatorial things shall go on, and in the name of communism, terrible, merciless autocracy exists. Situation in China, if you want, you can know. Few things are available in the network. So that's to some extent, effectively, the string of pearls is effectively countered by necklace of diamonds. Details you can look into and you can find out. We shall meet. Namaste. Jai Bharat. Jai Sri Ram.